Beloved, welcome back to the homestead. Inside this box is everything that two men would need to defend a home against wildland fire. Now, this is inspired from the boxes that were made back at the turn of the century from the US Forest Service, where they would be pre-positioned in areas that are prone to wildland fire with all of the tools necessary to defend a space or a building. Now, this will be a modern adaptation of it today. I've got everything unloaded. Fire season is upon us. We're going to go through every piece and we'll rebuild it and load it together. So if you live in the urban interface, you can use this as a template to build your own. So let's get started with all the tools. We'll get everything rehabbed and we'll build it back together. Getting info on the original US Forest Service boxes was a bit sketchy. I kind of went off of memory what I'd been told, and I found a few pictures online that had some layouts. Now, a lot of the equipment is archaic compared to our standards. For example, we have power saws, but they were similar to this in that everything had a dedicated spot: tools, shovels, lanterns, fuel. And I've done the same thing, and I've copied the original dimensions as close as I can. So it kind of loads from the bottom. So let's start with the power saws and the hand saws. Last week we went through all the saws, got everything sharpened, rehabbed. Before I put anything in the box, it's 100% ready to go. So we'll just double check the fuel, make sure it's full of bar oil, so that if we need it, we can grab and go. The power saw loads in first. I made room for a bar full wrap handle. This will handle up to a 28-inch bar. 32 is a little bit long. I rarely use that on fire. 28 is ideal. But that goes in there, and this kind of protects this from beating up any other equipment. For fuel and bar oil, a lot of guys prefer to put it in these backpacking bottles. These, we call them SIGs. And the reason for that is a Dalmar is unhandy. It takes an extra hand, and you got to carry your saw. You got to have this. You have to have a tool. So I don't often see them used. Also, the wildland packs are designed around them. They've got these big pouches on the side, so you can carry 2 of these per side, sometimes 3. So 1 gallon to 1.5 gallons of mix and bar oil. And I find it to be a lot handier. Every year, we'll pour the old fuel out, we'll repurpose it, and then we'll put new fuel in right now. So let's mix that up and then get these guys sorted out. A lot of guys on fire have switched over to the pre-mix stuff, which is really nice, high quality fuel, but it's super expensive. I think they've done that because the younger generation, they just don't have the knowledge that the older ones did, and they'll burn up saws. They don't understand the difference between 4-stroke and 2-stroke, so they just kind of cut that off at the pass. Always non-ethanol fuel. AMSOIL for me. AMSOIL is, I think, in my opinion, the best that you can get. Don't fill them all the way up. Leave yourself a couple inches for expansion. Rule of thumb, where it starts to curve, leave that for airspace. And 1 SIG with fresh bar oil. Everything clearly labeled. In the unfortunate event you've got an East Coast man on your crew, keep it simple for him. In addition to the power saws, I also carry hand saws. These are Japanese Silkies. Silky saws are arguably the best. Shout out to my brother in Christ, Canadian prepper. He's done a lot of videos on these, and he kind of is the internet expert on them, but they are incredible. This one here is the Katana Boy. Now, if you've got someone on your crew that you maybe don't want to turn loose with the power saw, this is a good option. Or you can hand it to the homeowner or anyone that shows up on scene, and they can get to work starting to clear and brush. They are incredibly effective. They're beautiful saws. I also designed the box to receive a telescopic pole saw. Now, this is the best thing you can have because this will give you tremendous reach. If you've got branches that are hanging out over structures and buildings, this thing will reach up to, I think it's 16 feet or so. It's got a very strong telescoping handle, and this will give you access, and you don't have to get up on a ladder and I find it very, very handy. This is an incredible tool. This is something that Pro Host should have in your arsenal for home tools. I noticed that we were using these and they didn't get kind of serviced properly, so they've got the resined up. So let's oil these up, clean them, get them ready for service, and then we'll move on to the next category. Out west, we cut a lot of white fir, red fir, ponderosa, fir that's got a lot of resin in it, and it'll stick. It'll really stick, and it makes the saw drag terribly. The best stuff to clear that quickly is carburetor cleaner or gasoline. I'll typically just wipe that down. You want to be careful and don't get into those teeth. Don't get your knuckles in there. If you have stuff that's exceedingly difficult to get off, just take a flat blade scraper and hit it. Stay away from the teeth, and that'll knock that resin off of there. It makes a big difference. It'll cut, especially here. You see where it's gumming up here, right there in the teeth. Looks like that pivot's a little bit loose. Now's the time, gentlemen. You go through everything, you pre-plan so that nothing's coming loose, nothing's broken when you're stressed out and you need it to work. I don't have enough good words to say about these Silky products, everything I've owned from them. They really are a special company. So nice, this stuff. These drip torches have been in use for so long. These are pretty much a standard on all engines. Hotshot crews, smoke jumpers, all the guys use them. Usually doing burnouts or prescribed fires. So the fuel mix is inside, and it's a clever design. It houses everything. When you go to use it, you take this cap off here, and you put it on here. And what this does, this loop right here, prevents the fire from going back inside. So this is kind of a torch on the end. Right here, you light this, and then this little spigot, once this is burning, it's got kind of a sponge deal in there. The fuel, as you tip it, the fuel will come out, make a mess here, and drip on this and leave a stream of fire on the ground, and you can go along and you can do burnouts. This is pretty standard. This is already full. I don't carry extra fuel in the firebox because I've got a whole 5 mixed up. You know, I'm not doing burn operations. I'm not doing prescribed burns, but I have it on hand if need be. I use it for my own prescribed burning. The drip torch lives right here, and the trauma kit right there. 2 tools that are so important to keep in the box are a pair of bolt cutters. If you need to get through a locked gate, this will take care of pretty much most padlocks. You could make the argument, a cordless grinder, you could throw one of those in there. What I find though is things, when you're pre-positioning things where you might leave them for a while, anything that's electronic or cordless, when you need it, the battery's gonna be flat. So you just can't go wrong with old school. And fence pliers. There's hardly a fence in America that you can't get through. Barbed wire, high tension wire, you'll be able to cut through there if you need to drive, if you need to escape. I mean, you can get locked behind a gate or need to get into a driveway, and these are the universal keys right here. I'm gonna have a full set of repair parts, spark plugs, extra bar nuts, anything you'd need to support your chainsaw, pull cord, you know, all that sort of thing. I keep that all in here. Spare parts, just what I found. Anything that could possibly break on your saw, you'll have that. And a sharpening system. I can't say enough good things about this. This is the Stihl Ultra Sharp or whatever. They kind of came up with a sharpener. The thing about this is that what I've seen on first time I saw this on a fire, you get a lot of college kids on them, and they'll go through a saw class, and they are now officially a sawyer. Didn't know what a saw was 2 weeks ago, but now they're an official sawyer, and I see them out there filing and wasting time, and it's a skill that's hard to develop. It takes a long time. You can put one of these in their hands or in the hands of pretty much anyone, and they can get a serviceable edge on it. And I know guys will be elitist in here, and all of our so-called professionals are going to laugh and scoff, but I don't care. I've seen it work. I've used it. I think it's a great product. Is it the best? No, but it's excellent. If you've struggled, just get yourself one of these. You can throw it in the pocket. You can give it to a guy. He can get an edge on it. So stump vise, sharpening system, and spare parts for supporting the saw. I'm going to have a file and a sharpening stone, a 12-inch mill bastard file with a handle. That's going to be for touching up edges on your shovels, your McLeods, rakes, hoes, anything like that. If you're working with fine edge tools, axes, for example, nice to have a small Lansky stone. This is a good stone. You can keep it in your cargo pocket and touch things up. And speaking of axes, I keep a pounder. A pounder is this is a vintage one that I built, kind of put together myself. A pounder is something that timber fallers will use where you have a heavy axe head, 3.5 pounds or so, something that can really pound wedges, but with a compact short handle, and it's short enough that you can wear it on a belt. You'll see these commonly, and they'll typically be used for pounding wedges. Now, I'm going to have a nice variety of wedges. You may need to take timber down. You might be clearing a space, trying to defend a home, so I'm going to have a half a dozen wedges, big ones, 8 inches, 6 inches, some smaller ones, and the pounder. With the pounder, I keep it in a sheath. If I need to, I can thread this on a belt. I can have that. I'm not a dedicated sawyer anymore like I used to be, so a lot of this stuff is kind of flexible where I can multi-purpose it, but this is the pounder wedge combo. This box is loosely set up to support 3 guys. I can fit 4 tools in, but it starts getting a little bit crowded, so I have to make some hard decisions. The tools that I'll typically put in there, one's going to be a fire shovel, or a fire tool, excuse me, a modified Rogue Pulaski, and then my old hoe. These are long handles. Rogue makes long 60-inch handles, so I actually designed the box around these to make sure that these long handle tools fit in. They kind of have to fit in there in a particular way, but we'll weave them in here together. I keep a full set of PPE in the box, hard hat, wire goggles, eye protection, and my chaps. I also keep a logger's tape, and the reason why I do that, it always pains me. You get on a guy's land, timber is very valuable. If you have to take down trees, there's no reason to waste it. You can come back and it's always, it has a lot of, it's worth a lot of money to folks. And I've seen guys come in and just cut random stuff that's not going to be usable, cut it in random lengths. So I always carry a logger's tape. That way, if I'm going to be cutting and bucking, I might as well take a minute, cut it into 8s or 16s or 24s or 32s, whatever could be useful to the guy if he's got a sawmill or wants to have it sawmilled. So I think it's just good style to have a logging tape so that you can just be kind to people and not just mess them all up by cutting random stuff. I carry a bladder bag. This is a holds 5 gallons of water. It's a bladder that's a backpack. It's got a quick attach and a solid brass pump, basically like a squirt gun. These are very handy. You can fill them up with a garden hose or a creek, and it can help you to put out hot spots in areas where you can't get a fire hose or maybe you don't have one. You can do quite a bit of work with these guys. I keep a bag of sharpened chains so I can replace the chainsaw chains, a torch or a fuse so I can light the drip torch, or you can do a burnout with this as well, and duct tape for lashing or just repairing stuff. And that is about the size of it. The box is far from full. If I need to add some PPE or some more gear in there, there's plenty of room. You can stuff it in the top. I got physical maps. I usually keep this in my admin pouch. I'm not going to put that in the box, but it can be thrown in there. Maps, IRPG, a Sharpie, in case they don't have phone service, or you just can't trust electronics on any of these things. So hard copies of maps so you can chase down roads. Something I usually throw into, I carry these bladder bags. These are fuel bags, 1 gallon. This one is made, these are made by our friends over Giant Loop in Bend. This one's a dedicated 1 gallon fuel bag. These are very nice, especially if you like to motorcycle or want to carry extra bag and not have a hard case. They're quite expensive, and I'm shocked how expensive they are. I tried, just for fun, to use an MSR water bottle. This is a water bladder, 4 liters or 1 gallon, just to see if it would hold fuel. Well, that was 10 years ago, and we use it all the time. So I wouldn't recommend this, not advise, but if you want to get a fuel bladder for half price, my experience, as it's holding gas right now, this thing has been working perfectly. So MSR 4 liter, 8 liter, 12 liter, highly recommended. We can throw these in the kit. I don't put them in there because we use them all the time on the motos when we do big loops, so we need to pack extra fuel. So again, I don't have doubles and duplicates of everything, so I have to try to have systems where I can mix and match, and we use these things on a regular basis. That's why I have to go through the box all the time, because we're always pulling the saws out and using them, because I'm not buying dedicated for everything, because I'm not a professional at this anymore. But I hope that helps. If you don't mind, take a moment, click that thumbs up, show your appreciation, and may God bless you and your families. Please keep us in your prayers, and we'll see you all on the next video.